I had lived across from Eddie for more than a decade, but we'd never exchanged a single word. Then one day, out of nowhere, she knocked on my door, and when she asked me that question, I was completely caught off guard.
Would you be interested in coming to my house sometime to sleep with me? Louis, it's not about sex. Lying down in bed together and talking through the night until we fall asleep, that kind of thing.
Her words threw me for a loop. Like Addie, I'd lost my spouse years ago. After the kids grew up, they settled down in another city. Addie was just like me, living alone in an empty house, getting through one long night after another. She wanted us to lie in bed together and talk, to be each other's companions through those endless nights. Faced with such a blunt and awkward invitation, I had no idea how to respond. But when I looked into Addie's eyes and saw that loneliness, a loneliness that mirrored my own, I couldn't bring myself to say no. I just mumbled that I'd think about it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Addie's words kept me tossing and turning all night. The next afternoon, I went to the tavern in town to meet up with my buddies like I always did. But then I got the news that one of my old friends had passed away the night before. Watching my peers disappear one by one made me suddenly realize how terrifying old age really is. My own time was running out, but there was no way I was going to end up like my friend dying alone in some corner where nobody would even notice. So after thinking it over, I finally called Addie. I told her I was willing to give it a try, and we set it for 9 o'clock the next night. The night of our arrangement arrived. I brushed my teeth early, put on a nice shirt, and packed my shoes and pajamas into a bag. But when I left the house, I was looking around nervously, terrified that a neighbor might see me acting so strange. When I got to Addie's place, I didn't even dare use the front door. I snuck around to the back instead.
What are you doing back here?
Well, I wasn't sure if it, you know how it is, people talk.
Addie had obviously been waiting for a while. She poured me some red wine she'd already prepared, then started up a conversation, but we never got past surface level stuff. We talked about neighborhood gossip and the weather, carefully avoiding anything about our pasts or the loneliness we both felt. To break the silence, Addie offered to show me around the house. I followed her through the rooms, taking in all the little signs of life everywhere. It hit me that her place felt so much warmer than my own empty home. Later, when we changed into our pajamas and got into bed, we were both pretty awkward about it. There was this invisible line down the middle of the mattress, and neither of us crossed it. Addie spoke first, saying goodnight, and just like that, we each drifted off to sleep. We didn't talk much that night, but we both slept better than we had in years. For the first time in ages, I could feel another person's presence beside me. After that little secret of ours, my life suddenly had something to look forward to. I stopped locking myself away in my woodworking shop to kill time. Instead, I kept glancing toward Addie's house, counting down the hours until dark. When evening finally came, I grabbed my bag and knocked on Addie's back door again. She was surprised. She didn't think I'd come back.
I wasn't sure if you'd come back.
Why not?
I don't know. You didn't leave your pajamas here last time.
I didn't want to seem presumptuous.
Might be easier if you left a few things here. Well, then you wouldn't have to carry them.
It was clear Addie wanted to keep this special arrangement going. I couldn't help asking why she'd chosen me. Her answer was simple. She thought I was handsome and a good man. That straightforward compliment made us both laugh, and all the awkwardness between us just melted away. In my mind, Addie had always been this effortlessly elegant woman. We started getting curious about each other's pasts, even sharing stories from our childhood. On the third night, I knocked on the back door as usual, but Addie didn't answer. Instead, she pulled the curtain shut from inside. I stood there confused for a second. Then I got it. She wanted me to come in through the front door like a normal person, so I took a deep breath and walked in through the front.
Well, hello there.
Oh,
That night I opened up to someone for the first time and told her about the thing that had haunted me for half my life. When I was young, I was a teacher at a middle school. After a big fight with my wife, I was feeling low and another teacher started comforting me. Gradually, we developed feelings for each other. In a moment of foolishness, chasing some idea of perfect love, I left my wife and daughter to be with her. A few weeks later, I realized what a terrible mistake I'd made and went back to my family. But the damage was done. My wife fell into depression and my daughter was deeply affected. She still hasn't gotten over it. Every time I think about it, the guilt is overwhelming.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Louis. You did the right thing. You're a good man.
Addie's words of comfort washed over me like a warm wave, thawing a heart that had been frozen for years. Our feelings for each other deepened from that moment on. But in a small town, news travels fast. Word about us spread like wildfire. My buddies at the tavern started teasing me about my stamina, asking for my secret. Coming from guys my age, it felt more like mockery than friendly ribbing. Embarrassed, I paid my tab and got out of there as fast as I could. Addie, on the other hand, handled it way better. She even told her best friend about us herself. That night, I told Addie what happened at the tavern. I admitted I still cared what people thought, but Addie said I should just face it head on. They were gonna find out sooner or later, so why not own it? Her optimism and straightforwardness were like a light cutting through the shadows in my heart. I started looking at Addie with tender eyes, watching her every move, knowing in my heart that she was the one I wanted to spend my final years with. All that gossip suddenly didn't matter anymore.
I've got this idea.
I'm listening.
When do we go into town, have lunch, just take our time and enjoy ourselves?
In public.
Yeah.
That Sunday, Addie put on a bright red outfit. Even with people whispering behind our back, she proudly took my arm. We threw off all those social expectations and showed everyone that even in old age we had every right to fall in love. But sweet times never last. Just as we were basking in the glow of our autumn romance, Addie's son Gene showed up unexpectedly with her grandson Jamie. Gene looked exhausted. He told Addie his job had hit a rough patch, and his wife had gone back to her parents after a fight. He didn't have time to look after Jamie, so he was leaving the boy with Addie until school started. This surprised little guest threw our whole routine off. Our nightly time together got cut short because Jamie was too scared to sleep alone. Addie had to take him into her room, and I didn't come over that night. Since his parents were always busy with work, Jamie spent most of his time glued to video games. Seeing how stressed Addie was, I didn't complain. Instead, I offered to help her look after Jamie. I dug out an old train set from my house, something I'd bought for my daughter years ago. Jamie, who'd been obsessed with video games, was suddenly captivated by this intricate model. His eyes went wide as he listened to me tell stories from the past. Before long, we became inseparable. He even insisted on sleeping next to me at night. But I knew that couldn't go on forever, so I took him to a pet store and let him pick out a dog. He chose a brown beagle and named it Locomotive. From then on, Locomotive slept with Jamie, and Addie and I got our late-night talks back. But soon enough, the cruel passage of time reminded us again just how fragile life is. One day, Addie went to bring some food to her friend and found her dead in her home alone. At the funeral, Addie was overwhelmed with worry, even panic. She couldn't stop wondering if she'd end up the same way, dying alone without anyone knowing. I could see what was going through her mind. To comfort her, I loaded up my old pickup truck and took Addie and Jamie camping out in the country. We found a nice open meadow. I played catch with Jamie while Addie prepared the food. After dinner, we sat around the campfire roasting marshmallows. In that moment, we felt like a real family. No judgment from the outside world, just simple happiness. Our laughter echoed through the valley until night fell, and we finally settled down to sleep. That trip wasn't just a break from our worries. It brought us closer together. We packed up and headed back to town in great spirits, only to find Gene waiting at the door. Seeing me with his mother, he clearly wasn't happy about it.
I've been trying to call you all day. Where were you?
You know, actually, I should be getting back to my place.
Would you call me later?
Yeah.
I could tell I wasn't welcome. Not wanting to make things awkward for Addie, I quietly went home. Gene didn't approve of his mother being with me. He'd heard about my affair back when he was in middle school. To him, a man like me couldn't be trusted, and he didn't believe I could make his mother happy. But the truth is, after all the time we'd spent together, I knew my care and tenderness had touched Addie's heart. Even though Gene didn't support our relationship, Addie stood by her choice. After Gene and Jamie left, the house went quiet again. The loneliness crept back in. Bored out of our minds, I suddenly suggested we take a trip.
You ever been to the Brown Palace?
In Denver?
Yeah, and I've always wanted to stay there. What do you think? Just the two of us? Get away for a few days, get our minds off of things?
God, I haven't been in the city for ages.
We drove to a resort about 200 miles away. When we checked in, the front desk clerk assumed we were married. Addie's face lit up and she didn't correct them. Once we got to our room, I put on a sharp suit, and Addie slipped into a champagne-colored evening gown. Sure, time had left its marks on her face, but she still had that timeless grace that made my heart skip a beat every time. We danced together like a couple who'd been in love for decades, swaying to sweet music and savoring every moment. That night, we finally broke through that invisible barrier and gave ourselves completely to love.
Have you forgotten now?
No.
You know, we don't need to rush. We can take our time.
From then on, we were swept up in romance, treasuring every fleeting moment of happiness we had. I became more at ease with myself. I stopped worrying about what people said and openly acknowledged my relationship with Addie. My daughter was happy for us. She said she wanted to move past the old memories and travel the world. I told her she should find a boyfriend to go with her, someone to look after her. But she turned me down. My affair had left scars on her, and she still couldn't bring herself to trust love. But she said she was starting to let go and wasn't as hung up on the past as before. Seeing how much I'd hurt my daughter crushed me. No amount of regret could undo what I'd done. All I could do was hope that someday she'd find someone who truly loved her. But life always has surprises in store. A few weeks later, I went to deliver some lumber to a friend. When I got back, the shop owner told me Addie had fallen and hurt her leg. She was in the hospital. I rushed over, but Gene wouldn't let me in. He said only family could visit. It was obvious he still hadn't accepted me. A few days later, Addie was well enough to come home, and I was there to pick her up.
Gene wants me to move in with him and Jamie. He's worried that I'm too far away and on my own.
Seeing how I'd stuck by her through everything, Addie felt guilty. She knew Gene's wife probably wasn't coming back, but she still hadn't agreed to move in with him. She didn't want to leave. I thought life might finally settle down, but a phone call in the middle of the night shattered that hope. On the other end was Jamie, crying. Addie and I rushed over to find him home alone, too scared of the dark to fall asleep. Just as I'd suspected, Gene and his wife had split up for good. The broken marriage had torn the family apart. With no one to take care of him, Jamie was living on takeout, and his room was a mess. It broke Addie's heart. Then we heard a loud crash outside. Addie went to check and found Gene stumbling drunk. When he saw my truck, he immediately understood his mother had made her choice. He confronted her right there.
You remember that night after the accident in the ambulance?
Of course I remember the ambulance.
Okay, you couldn't even look at me for weeks.
Addie froze. She finally learned that all these years, Gene had been carrying guilt and misunderstanding. When his sister died in a car accident years ago, Gene blamed himself. And because Addie was so consumed by grief over losing her daughter, she'd neglected Gene. He grew up thinking his mother blamed him. On the drive home, neither of us said a word, but we both knew reality was forcing us to step back. That night, I didn't stay at Addie's. I went back to my empty house and stared at that bed that had sat unused for so long. After a sleepless night, Addie decided to move in with Gene to make up for all the years she'd missed with him and to help take care of Jamie. I didn't want us to be apart. I offered to go with her.
You know, there's nothing for me here either. Eddie, you're where I want to be.
I can't take you with me, Louis. I can't.
But she said no. After that, we went back to our separate lives. Addie was busy taking Jamie to school, and sometimes she'd walk in the park with Gene. Slowly, laughter returned to their home and they all seemed happier. But I was right back where I started, living out my days alone and dull. The only difference was that now I had someone to miss. One day I went into town to buy a door handle and heard that another old buddy had passed away the night before. Watching everyone my age disappear one by one made me worry about myself. But before my time came, I didn't want to leave anything unfinished. I wanted to give Addie and me one more chance. I sent Jamie that train set, along with a smartphone for Addie. Even if we couldn't be together, I wanted us to hear each other's voice when the loneliness got too heavy. From then on, I kept my phone with me every second, terrified of missing her call. And Addie never let it get in the way of her family. She'd wait until Jamie was settled for the night, then call me and tell me how much she missed me.
I'm having trouble sleeping.
You and me both.
What should we do about it?
I don't know. The nights are the worst, don't you think?
No passionate declarations, no romantic dates, but that's what love looks like in old age. You don't abandon your family. You don't force the other person to choose. You just find healing in knowing someone out there is thinking of you. Growing up isn't just for young people. With Addie by my side, I learned to face my past and let go of my guilt. And through being with me, Addie stepped out of her loneliness and made peace with her son. Maybe we never got to spend our final years side by side, but those nights we shared, those words that comforted us, that quiet longing we carry in our hearts, they've become the light that brightens our twilight years. We always assume loneliness is just part of getting old. Empty rooms, cold leftovers, a phone full of contacts but no one to call. Addie and I were neighbors for over a decade, looking at each other from across the hall but never saying a word. It took one honest invitation to finally break through our isolation. Our story doesn't have any grand confessions, just bedtime small talk and clumsy gestures of care. No matter how old you get, what you're really looking for isn't some earth-shattering love affair. It's just someone to help you get through the long nights. Someone who understands the loneliness hidden in your wrinkles. Someone who gets that kind of gentleness, the kind that doesn't make you choose between love and family.